Y News with Angelo Castro III, William Theo, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Senator Tito Soto seeks to conduct an inquiry on the Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
Senate Majority Leader Tito Soto will file a resolution aiming to investigate the COMELEC chief Andres Bautista. Bautista might face plunder charges following the revelation of his wife about his alleged ill-gotten wealth worth 1 billion pesos. But the probe, Soto says, will not only focus on Bautista's alleged ill-gotten wealth but also over the integrity of the 2016 polls.
Sa mga informasyon na lumabas, it really casts a cloud of doubt in the 2016 elections. Pagka ganyan, ang dami na nga natin naririnig na kung ano-ano tungkol doon. Pagkatapos biglang meron ganito, the best option is for us to have an inquiry.
Soto says the Blue Ribbon Committee and Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation will lead the investigation on the COMELEC chairman. Meanwhile, Senator Grace Poe says what happened between Bautista and his wife, Patricia, should not be treated as a marital problem.
Kahit na sabihin nila, away mag-asawa yan. Totoo, away mag-asawa, pero higit pa dyan ito. Away ito ng ating estado sa mga nangungurakot.
Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Department of Justice has ordered an investigation into the alleged unexplained wealth of COMELEC Chairman Andres Bautista Jr. A separate inquiry by the lower house of Congress is also being pushed. Roderick Mendoza tells us why.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre directed the NBI to investigate the allegations of Mrs. Patricia Paz Bautista about the alleged unexplained wealth of her husband, COMELEC Chairman Andres Bautista Jr. In her affidavit, Patricia claims Bautista could have possibly amassed 1 billion pesos of unexplained wealth. These include 35 accounts with the Luzon Development Bank with a total balance of 329 million pesos, a condominium unit in Bonifacio Global City, and another condo unit in San Francisco, California in the United States. Aguirre particularly wants to determine Bautista's accountability in his failure to declare said bank accounts and properties in his Statement of Assets, Liabilities and Net Worth or SALN. He also wants to know if the poll chief is possibly liable for violations of the Anti-Money Laundering Act and other related laws. Kabayan Party List Congressman Harry Roque will call for a separate inquiry in the lower house of Congress. Roque claims he saw some of the documents and there is an indication Bautista accepted bribe from Smartmatic.
Nakita ako mga vouchers, no? At kasama dun sa voucher na lumalabas, halagang natanggap, galing sa Smartmatic. Kasi lumalabas doon, parang nangungumisyon siya sa isang law office.
The lawmaker though refused to name the law office but said it is important to determine if indeed Bautista's integrity is already tainted.
Kapag may ganyang bahid, baka nabenta ang ating demokrasya nung huling halalan.
Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista says he is ready to face any investigation into his alleged ill-gotten wealth recently divulged by his wife, Mrs. Patricia Paz Bautista. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista stands firm that he has no hidden wealth worth 1 billion pesos. The Chief Election Commissioner made the statement after his wife, Patricia Paz, accused him publicly of having a posh condominium unit in San Francisco and bank accounts containing huge sum of money.
We are ready to face anything and everything.
Chairman Bautista denies all the allegations, saying all his properties are stated in his 2016 Statement of Assets, Liabilities and Net Worth or SALN. Bautista believes his wife made the accusations because of her financial problems, which he says is also politically motivated.
Papakita po namin sa mga susunod na araw na ito po ay isang kaso ng paninikil at panggigipit. Sa totoo lang po, ako po ang biktima dito. Biktima ng pagtataksil Ang aking pong pagkatao ay para po akong naghahasa sa aking sariling pamamahay.
Bautista says he is ready to resign if the said issue would affect his duties as the COMELEC chief.
Hindi po ako kapit-tuko sa kahit anong posisyon or panunungkulan. No? Kung ang palagay ko ako'y nagiging pabigat na sa isang institusyon, wala namang problema sa akin na magbitiw. No?
He says he already talked with the president about the matter, who also advised him about their marital problem. Malacanang meanwhile says it will not tolerate any form of corruption in the government.
The whole matter has to be fully investigated. At this stage, that's all we can say.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Meanwhile, in an all-party caucus today, members of the lower house agreed to postpone the local polls from the supposed October this year to May next year. However, the congressmen say they will still wait for the discussion of the majority of senators, as the measure needs to undergo a legislative process before its full implementation. Pending the decision, incumbent barangay officials will remain in position. Customs broker Mark Ruben Taguba II names the personalities he bribed so his containers would not undergo strict inspection at the Bureau of Customs. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Attorney Teddy Rabal, Attorney Marunilla,
Attorney Marunilla,
Director Estrella, Teddy Sagaral.
These personalities allegedly were those who received 30,000 pesos for every container they did not inspect, according to customs broker Mark Ruben Taguba II. The customs broker says this is the reason why the shipment containing 600 kilograms of shabu that was recently confiscated in Valenzuela City was able to evade inspection. Taguba says he paid 10,000 pesos for the import assessment service, 3,000 pesos to the port collector, 2,000 pesos to the intelligence group, and 1,000 pesos for the X-ray. He also claims giving money to the director and deputy director for the Customs Intelligence and Investigation Service, 200 pesos to the pier collector, while he also gave 7,500 pesos to those in charge of Section 15. But the TAG officials vehemently denied the accusations of Taguba.
I have not met Mr. Taguba prior to these hearings. I have not talked either by phone or in person to Mr. Taguba.
I have not asked anyone to collect anything.
I categorically deny that I received money from Mr. Mark Taguba.
No, I am not receiving money from illicit activities, Your Honor. I'm contented with my sahod.
In the end, Taguba clarifies that a certain Tita Nani collected 10,000 pesos from him and that he did not directly hand the money to the officials he named.
Kilala mo ba, nakausap mo ba, nagkita na ba kayo, nagkausap na kayo nung certain person na binanggit mo o itinuro mo?
No, Your Honor.
Nakausap mo ba siya personal?
No, Your Honor. Yung Jerry po, meron pong nagte-text sa akin.
Taguba says such a scheme has long been happening in the BOC and never stops, even every change of administration. The lawmakers summoned in the next hearing the personalities Taguba claims had received grease money. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
In other news, some senators criticized the Department of Justice and some officials of the Department of Agriculture for their alleged inaction in the filing of cases against cartels in the country. Nel Maribohok tells us why.
The Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food has reopened the investigation into the sudden increase in the prices of garlic in the country. Based on the resolution filed by Senator Cynthia Villar, the current prices of garlic reach 140 pesos to 200 pesos. Because of this, the Senate questioned the actions undertaken by the Department of Justice and Department of Agriculture against cartels or those controlling the supply and prices of agricultural products.
Nung nagkaroon ng pagdinig dito ng hearing si Bangayan, halos halos umamin na siya sa ginagawa niya. Hindi at wala tayong ginawa.
The report is 2014. Walang na-filean ng case, di ba? Hindi ba yung rice smuggling? Wala rin na-filean ng case.
It's still for issuance ng resolution. Hindi po natin makita kung ang pagkakaintindi ko po mayroon ng draft.
Also discussed is the acquisition of import permits of some companies for the importation of garlic. Based on the report of the DA, only 12,000 metric tons of the total 57,000 metric tons of garlic with import permits arrive in the country. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol says they are doing something about the matter.
Nag-spike yung prices ng garlic only in the first quarter of 2017. And when there was a marked increase in the price of garlic, I instructed Undersecretary Ariel Cayanan to summon all of the importers after we noticed that they were not bringing in the volume that they were supposed to bring in.
Secretary Piñol says they are looking into hundreds of hectares of land where they can plant garlic. Should this step succeed, the government expects it would address the huge garlic demand in the Philippine market, which would lessen the importation of garlic from other countries. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Philippine Competition Commission vows to focus on monitoring industries with the biggest contribution to the Philippine economy. Victor Cosare tells us why.
In an interview with the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, the spokesperson of the Philippine Competition Commission notes one of their focus is preventing price fixing.
Bawal po ang price fixing na tinatawag. Ito po yung nagkakasundo ang mga magkalaban para ipako po sa isang level ang presyo ng bilihin. Posible rin po yung tinatawag po nating abuse of dominant position. Ibig po na itong mga maliliit na kumpanya na to ay makapasok din sa laro at makapag-compete. Pinapatay po niya yun.
Tomorrow, the 2-year transitory period for all companies in following the rules under the Philippine Competition Act will end. After this, the Philippine Competition Commission says it will go after cartels or those involved in anti-competitive practices. Specifically, the PCC vows to focus on monitoring 6 industries with the biggest contribution to the Philippine economy. These are in industries of agriculture, manufacturing, services, transportation and logistics, telecommunication, and power. Among the mandates of the agency is the conduct of an investigation into complaints against certain companies or government offices. The PCC also has the authority to conduct a motu proprio investigation. Companies violating the Philippine Competition Act will face fines and imprisonment.
Pero may kulong po sa mga direktor at manager na nakakaalam po dun sa mga illegal na gawain. Up to 7 years.
Up to 7 years.
Opo.
At meron din pagmumulta.
Opo, malaki po yung multa. Up to 250 million naman po tayo.
The Commission may also order the closure or stop the operation of a company found to be violating the law. Attorney Papa says 3 companies are now undergoing PCC's full administrative investigation. The government agency also calls on the public to immediately report to them any collusion among businesses or industries which causes the soaring prices of products and services. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Committee on Appropriations Chairman Congressman Carlo Nograles says they are now studying the possibility of allocating the amount that would be slashed from several government agencies for the free college education of the government. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
So malalaman namin kung sino yung mga departments or agencies na underspending or underutilized or unutilized ang kanilang mga pondo. So ito magiging basis namin para tingnan kung kinakailangan ba na i-cut natin ang budget for 2018 nila based dun sa kanilang performance.
The House Committee on Appropriations Chair Congressman Carlo Nograles believes one source of fund for the free college education program would be the excess fund from other government agencies. President Rodrigo Duterte recently signed into law the measure that aims to provide free tuition to students of state universities and colleges. However, the Department of Budget and Management has yet to determine the exact amount needed for the said program. Meanwhile, Congressman Nograles responded to the statement of Senator Panfilo Lacson, who said the funding for the free college tuition should be taken from the pork barrel of the lawmakers. In the report, the senator claims the total annual PDAF of lawmakers worth 29.3 billion pesos exceeds the fund needed for the free college education program.
Walang pork sa budget book na ito, no? Kasi kung may pork dito, immediately it will be brought to the Supreme Court's attention and the Supreme Court will immediately strike it down, no? Napakaklaro po sa Supreme Court decision kung anong ibig sabihin ng pork at pinagbabawal na po ang pork.
Budget Secretary Benjamin Jokno is set to meet with the Commission on Higher Education, TESDA, and Unified Student Financial Assistance System for Tertiary Education to discuss the implementing rules and regulations for the new law. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Budget Department will ask for an additional fund from Congress in case it runs short of funding for the implementation of the free college education program. Nel Maribuhok tells us why.
The Department of Budget and Management or DBM faces the challenge of where to get the billion peso worth of fund needed for the free tuition of students of state universities and colleges or SUCs. This is after President Rodrigo Duterte's signing of the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. DBM Secretary Benjamin Jokno says the Budget Department might request for a supplemental budget from Congress to fund the said program. Jokno, however, notes that the program could still not be implemented in full.
Remember that hindi pa naman full complement yung mga universities because of the K-12. So butas pa yung there are few freshmen and few sophomores, di ba? So these things will normalize siguro after 3 years.
This has also been the view of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian in terms of funding.
Maybe a 2-year or a 3-year phase-in process. Ibig sabihin, pondohan muna natin yung pinakamahalaga, which is the tuition fee. And then maybe on the second year, we can fund the miscellaneous fees. And then the third year, we can fund the subsidies. No?
The amount needed to fully implement the free tuition law will reach 25 billion pesos. In the next series of hearings on the proposed budget of the administration, the DBM expects that the number of students who might benefit from the new law would be clarified.
We intend to maintain the capacity, current capacity. We cannot just, for example, a state college from 10,000 students magiging 50,000. Hindi naman pwede yun.
But Senator Panfilo Lacson believes there is a fund in the national budget that can be used for the free tuition law. He cites as an example what was done in the 2017 budget where 8.3 billion pesos from what he claims as pork allocation of congressmen went to the Fund of Commission on Higher Education. Lacson says this is what they also intend to do in the 2018 proposed national budget. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Next on Y News. PNP investigates cops for allegedly colluding with Maute terrorist group.
ASEAN ministers call for denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
And the Department of Health kicks off initial vaccination program against human papillomavirus in Mandaluyong City.
Y News will be right back. President Rodrigo Duterte confirms meeting with COMELEC Chair Andres Bautista and his estranged wife, Pia, but distances himself from the issue. Rosalie Cos is in Malacanang to tell us why live. Yes, Rosalie, go ahead.
Good evening, Diego. President Rodrigo Duterte has called for an unexpected press conference right after meeting foreign officials in Malacanang this afternoon. He said he wanted to air his side regarding the biggest issue of the day, which is about the allegations of COMELEC Chairman Andres Bautista's estranged wife on the Paul Chief's alleged ill-gotten wealth. The president reiterated that he does not want to be accused of running after those officials who were appointed by the past administration, so he is distancing himself from the issue.
Look, you heard me when I said I am not into the habit of prosecuting people, especially from the other side of the fence, political fence. Lalo na si Bautista because he was appointed by Noynoy. I do not want to be misconstrued. Sabi ko, ayaw ko, leave me out. Kasi hindi ako naghabol ng mga kalaban, lalo na yung mga opisyal ng dating administration.
The president also answered the question why he entertained them in Malacanang the first place since he is a lawyer. He also added that the only thing he could do for the estranged wife of Bautista is to provide lawyers if she requests for legal assistance. Meanwhile, the president once again warned those still involved themselves in illegal drug operations in the country. He cited the Parojinogs whom he said have evolved to being gangsters and started operating on shabu, killing 4 to 5 policemen who were going against them.
Dumating ng panahon, nung niya, sinabi ko, ayan. Sinabi ko sa inyo, huwag niyo kontrahin ang gobyerno. Gagamitin ko ang gobyerno because I have to protect the people who represent the government. I will not hesitate. What is the complete sentence? Question mark. Hindi ako magdalawang isip. Sinabi ko sa inyo, huminto kayo.
Jego, right after the press conference, the president proceeded to his cabinet meeting. Back to you, Jego.
Thank you, Rosalie Cos, reporting live from Malacanang. National and local government and various organizations will conduct post-conflict assessment to evacuation centers in Marawi City. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
More than 200 personnel of the national and local government, people's organizations and non-government agencies will start to go to evacuation centers beginning tomorrow to gather information from the internally displaced persons or IDPs of the ongoing battle in Marawi City. The assessment will start in evacuation centers and will move on to other areas cleared by the military. This is to determine how much expenses the government will have to incur to bring normalcy for the affected residents. The post-needs conflict assessment will also be the basis for the comprehensive recovery and rehabilitation plan for Marawi City.
Dito malalaman kung ilan ba talagang shelters ang kakailanganin, ilan ba talaga ang makakabalik, ilan ba ang kailangang itayong permanent shelters, at ilan ang kailangang i-accommodate sa transitory shelter sites.
The government ensures that those internally displaced persons staying outside the evacuation centers or the home-based IDPs will also be monitored and included in the assessment. Meanwhile, an August 6 report shows less than 700 individuals were killed in the battle in Marawi City, including 528 terrorists, 122 soldiers and policemen, and 45 civilians. The military denies that their operations in Marawi City had a slowdown.
We are trying to do our best to expedite it. But of course, we have other tactical considerations that we have to put in mind. The complexities on the ground, the considerations that we have to put in, like the presence of hostages still in the hands of the enemy.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines says the morale of military troops battling against terrorist Maute group in Marawi City remains high amid the rising number of deaths and injuries on their part. Lea Ilagan tells us why.
Nearly 700 individuals were killed in the ongoing fight in Marawi City. Based on the latest figure of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the highest number is on the side of the terrorists with 528, 122 on the side of the government, and 45 civilians. But despite this, AFP Public Affairs Office Chief Colonel Edgar Arevalo notes that the soldiers' morale remain high amid the rising casualties on the part of the government troops. He adds that AFP Chief of Staff General Eduardo Año went to the battleground in Marawi City to give inspiration to soldiers on the ground.
Naramdaman niya ang moral ng ating mga sundalo ay nananatiling mataas sa kabila ng marami-rami na rin nating naging casualty at marami na rin nating nasugatan sa ating hanay.
Arevalo says it was the Chief of Staff who became more inspired because of the dedication and focus shown by the troops.
Yung mga snipers po natin, they remained in their position. They did not even allow themselves the opportunity to glance at their chief of staff. Their eyes were focused on their scopes. Their eyes were focused on their possible targets.
AFP Chief of Staff General Eduardo Año calls on his men on the battleground to stay alive so they could meet again for a celebration when the chaos caused by the ISIS-inspired Mauti group in Mindanao finally ends. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, is investigating some police who allegedly collude with the Mauti terrorist group. This after the military retrieved an identification card of a cop from an alleged member of the Mauti group. PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa clarifies that the cop in question, who is also an Islam convert, had long been out of the police service. But De La Rosa confirms that they are investigating some policemen who are reportedly in talks with the terrorist group.
Meron tayong tinututukan, meron tayong imbestigahan, pero hanggang duda pa lang, pinag-dududahan, ginakadakan natin ng counterintelligence operations, sinisi-CI natin. But yung mga tao na yon, nung miyari ng ID, hindi na talaga polisyon. 2014 pa. Wala na yun sa serbisyo.
The Philippine National Police says a possible retaliation attempt by the Parohinog supporters will not cower their men in Osamis City. Mon Hokson tells us why.
The Philippine National Police received reports that boats from Lanao del Norte recently docked in secret along the shores of Osamis City. Also, a rumor is circulating that some supporters of the Parohinog clan are brewing a retaliation attempt against the Philippine National Police in the area. In this connection, PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa says in a press briefing earlier that they remain unfazed by the threats from Parohinog supporters.
Bring it on. Ngayon pa nyo kami tatakutin. Matagalan yung tinakot yung pulis. Marami ng pulis na pinatay ninyo. So bring it on. Tatakutin nyo yung PNP.
The PNP has sent additional men to help maintain peace and order in Osamis City. Meanwhile, following the raid in the Parohinog residence, the PNP is receiving a number of requests for Police Chief Superintendent Jovi Espinido to be assigned to their area. But PNP Chief De La Rosa says they are planning to assign Espinido to the next area of target of the PNP's fight against illegal drug.
Mag-determine muna tayo kung sinong next na target doon natin ilipat. Hintay muna tayo. Validate muna natin kung saan siya pwede ilipat.
Meanwhile, Espinido will be receiving an award on Wednesday coinciding with the 116th PNP anniversary in Camp Crame. But De La Rosa clarified that the award has nothing to do with the killing of Osamis City Mayor Reynaldo Parohinog.
I would like to correct you that baka sabihin nyo na dahil doon sa pagpatay kay Mayor Parohinog kaya siya bigyan ng award. Andito yung aking staff, yung aking member ng staff. Hindi pa nangyari yung Osamis incident, kasama na sa listahan si Espinido sa mga awardees for his accomplishment sa anti-drug operation sa Albuera at saka sa Osamis.
After what happened in Osamis City, PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa said that the people are not afraid and now started complaining about the corruption and irregularities in the area. One example is the discovery of the alleged mass grave of the Parohinog in Osamis City. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Osamis Police Chief Inspector Jovi Espinido calls on the victims of the Parohinogs to come forward and cooperate with the police in filing of cases against the beleaguered family. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
The Osamis Police continues to gather evidence that would further implicate the Parohinog family. In line with this, the Chief of the Osamis Police, Police Chief Inspector Jovi Espinido, calls on the supposed witnesses and victims of the Parohinogs to come forward and cooperate with them in filing criminal charges against the political clan.
Kaya nga, siguro maghingi tayo ng karagdagan mga investigator sa taas na nasyonal na makaikot pa sa mga pagtanong, paghanap ng mga
may biktima sa robbery. So sa ginawa natin ngayon, makuha natin yung mga picture, mag-profile natin para mapadala natin sa yung mga dati na hold up. Kung kasali ba ito sa once makasabi sila kasali itong mga mukha na to, then formal charge against this person.
The police also vow to protect the witnesses who would testify against the Parohinogs, although they still have relatives still hiding from the law.
Yes, 100%. Sa nakita nila na wala na talagang time sa kanila na matatakot kasi yun nga na neutralize na natin, masabi natin na neutralize, hindi na eradicate kasi may mga remains, no, may naiwan pa, mga buhay pa. But then sila dahan-dahan na lumantad na para isabi na nila na sila kasama sa ganun ng mga robbery. Sino ang naghawak talaga ng Parohino groups, yung mga martilyo gang na yan, asitilingin gang, budol-budol gang. So yun, iba-ibang mga gang dito sa Osamis.
Meanwhile, Espinido orders the excavation of another area in barangay Kapukaw C, where the Parohinogs allegedly buried their victims. But authorities were able to excavate up to 4 feet because the backhoe they are using malfunctioned. Espinido says there is a huge possibility that people were buried in the said area.
Magsabi ako 80% kasi siya mismo nakita na doon talaga barilin, ihulog na.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
In other news, ASEAN ministers expressed concern over the growing tension in the Korean peninsula. For this reason, the 10-member bloc calls for denuclearization in the region. Nel Maribuhok tells us why.
ASEAN member states are perturbed with the launch of the intercontinental ballistic missile testing of Democratic People's Republic of Korea last July 4 and 28.
These developments seriously threaten peace, security, and stability in the region and the world. In this regard, we strongly urge the DPRK to immediately comply fully with its obligations under all relevant UN Security Council resolutions.
For this reason, a statement last Saturday was released calling on the denuclearization or the removal of nuclear weapons in the Korean peninsula. The ASEAN ministers calls on North Korea to do its part as a participant of the ASEAN Regional Forum for the prevailing of peace and unity in the Asia-Pacific region.
ASEAN stands ready to play a constructive role in contributing to peace and stability in the Korean peninsula.
Meanwhile, a new sanction was released by the United Nations Security Council for North Korea due to its latest missile test. The US drafted resolution that bans North Korean exports like coal, iron ore, lead ore, and seafood. $1 billion is the expected loss of North Korea from its annual export revenue due to the latest sanction. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Meanwhile, foreign ministers of China and 10 ASEAN member states adopted the framework of Code of Conduct in the South China Sea during the ASEAN-China ministerial meeting yesterday. Victor Cosare tells us why.
The negotiation of China and ASEAN countries will start this November regarding the formation of the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea. This was after China and ASEAN ministers adopt the framework of COC in the ASEAN-China ministerial meeting at the PICC yesterday. But China has conditions. In a statement, Minister Wang Yi said they will cooperate if other non-ASEAN member countries will not interfere. The proposed COC is an agreement to ensure peace and stability in the South China Sea. The Department of Foreign Affairs said while there is no code of conduct yet, China and other ASEAN member countries will continue to cooperate so the situation on the disputed territory will not worsen.
Parallel to this, ASEAN and China will continue to cooperate on such practical maritime cooperation efforts, including management and prevention of conflicts among parties through confidence-building measures, as well as to prevent miscalculations on the ground.
But there was no mention in the meeting as to the assurance of China to stop the construction of their military facilities on the disputed territory while the Code of Conduct is not yet done. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Foreign ministers unanimously believe that unilateral actions of any member state in the disputed South China Sea will never help in the unity of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN. Maki Libradilla tells us why.
The foreign ministers of 10 ASEAN member states say unilateral action has been the cause of tension and crisis arising between members of ASEAN and Beijing. This has been the statement of the ASEAN foreign ministers regarding China's land reclamation and militarization of area. Thus, during the meeting, the bloc upheld the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. The ASEAN ministers and China also uphold the framework of the Code of Conduct that would serve as a basis for the creation of the actual rules for the disputed territory. The Department of Foreign Affairs says the ASEAN members would maintain the improving situation in the South China Sea. This is although it remains unclear whether or not China would stop building structures in the disputed area.
ASEAN and China will continue to cooperate on such practical maritime cooperation efforts, including management and prevention of conflicts among parties through confidence-building measures, as well as to prevent miscalculations on the ground.
Maki Libradilla, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The Department of Health has launched its immunization program against human papillomavirus in Mandaluyong City. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Around 8,000 students aged 9 to 14 from grade 4 to 7 in 22 public schools in Mandaluyong City will benefit the human papillomavirus or HPV vaccine. The program was launched today at Addition Hills Integrated School in Mandaluyong City, wherein 180 students were initially vaccinated. The Department of Health targets to administer the vaccine to 700,000 students from 47 provinces in the country this year, specifically to those from poor families. According to the Health Department, HPV causes 99% of cervical cancer among women. Cervical cancer is the second most deadly type of the cancer that kills women around the world. The cervix is part of the reproductive system of women. DOH explains HPV infection may be developed from poor hygiene of sexual partners.
Isa sa nagiging dahilan, in hygiene, kalinisan sa katawan at pag medyo hindi ka nakakaangat sa buhay, hindi ganun kadaling i-maintain yung personal hygiene both sa lalaki at sa babae.
The Philippines records more than 6,000 new cases of cervical cancer annually and 12 women die of the disease every day. The DOH says HPV vaccination is free, but if done in private hospitals, it would cost 5,000 pesos. A woman with cervical cancer would cost her 500,000 pesos for treatment. The DOH allocates 650 million pesos for HPV vaccine this 2017, while it allots 400 million pesos in the 2018 proposed national budget for the HPV vaccination. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Y News, we'll be right back.
The song Ikaw Ang Buhay Ko wins the first weekly elimination for the month of August in ASOP Year 6. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
Pag-ibig sa akin ng Panginoon Kristo, na-realize ko na napakarami niyang pag-ibig sa akin. Kaya bilang mensahe ko sa kantang yun, gusto kong imensahe sa kanya na ikaw yung buhay ko.
This is the third time that Bernabe Escudero Jr., a composer from Antipolo Rizal, joined a Song of Praise Music Festival. And this time, he was chosen as the first weekly winner for the month of August for his song entitled Ikaw Ang Buhay Ko. Bernabe's song earned praises from the judges.
OPM na OPM yung dating niya. Pinoy na Pinoy.
Ang ganda, ang ganda. Ang sarap ulit-uliting pakinggan ng kanta.
Sinasabi mo, ito pala yung patungkol sa Panginoon. No? Yun yung isang kulay nun. Pero nagustuhan ko yung kulay na parang mali. Pero parang tama rin pala. Okay. Magaling ang konsepto.
Meanwhile, actress-singer Maurice Ricketts enjoyed her first time as ASOP judge.
Sobrang magaganda lahat. Excited na ako for next year kasi sabi ko, ay nako, ang daming magagandang songs na siguradong sisikat.
The song Ikaw Ang Buhay Ko bested ang Lahat ng Bagay of Dino de Guzman from Pasay City and Asin at Ilaw composed by Emmanuel Talon from Isabela.
Ikaw ang buhay ko, ika'y iniibig ko, pinapangako ko sa'yo, ikaw at ako.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
A father and his two sons showcase their passion for singing in Wishcovery's on-ground audition in Baguio City. Leslie Longbowen is back to tell us why.
From father to sons, the talent for music runs in the blood of Packing family. Frank, the head of the family, is the #1 musical influence of his two sons, Joko and Louie. Together, they went to the Wishcovery on-ground audition in Baguio City. They have joined different singing competitions before, but it is just now that the three of them joined a single singing contest.
The way I feel for you, it's now or never. Please be true. Ikaw ay narito at minamahal.
Although they are in one contest, they say they don't feel any competition between them.
Masaya. Kasi magkakasama kami. Kahit magkakalaban yung tingin ng iba pero wala lang sa amin. Magkakasama pa rin kami.
Masaya. Masaya ako para kahit sino makuha sa amin.
Frank is among the chosen pre-qualifiers from the last batch of Wishcovery on-ground auditionees. However, Frank believes that his sons will be able to establish their singing careers someday.
Actually, mas malaki potential sila sa akin. Mas magaling sila sa akin.
Lose yourself to someone.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news, July 7, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am William Theo.
And I'm Darlene Basingan because we need to know
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching
Why News.